Hello, and warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to the Brahma Kumari's Calgary Meditation Center. Please feel free to share any questions and comments in the live chat. If you're not able to access the chat, please log into your Gmail account. And today, our self-care topic will be cleanliness. So, let's start. Let's start off with a simple question. What does cleanliness mean to you? Now, we all know the literal definition of cleanliness, right? It is the property of being cleanly or habitually clean, good hygiene, free of dirt or impurities. In spirituality, it means to have a clean mind and clean heart, free from any burden, any tension, and any ill feelings. So now, throughout the day, we put a lot of focus and time, effort into cleaning the physical things. We clean our house, right? When there's guests coming over, we make it spotless, or we clean our possessions, right? Like our car or electronic devices and even our bodies. But how much time do we put into cleaning the mind? How much priority do we put into cleaning our mind? Hardly any or zero time, right? We don't even think about it. But if the mind is not right, none of the physical things matter, right? If I'm not in the right mental stage, I can't enjoy anything. I will constantly feel peaceless, heavy, and unhappy. So what priority should we give our mind? So let's talk about what does it mean to clean the mind? Now, this is something that many people fail to understand because it is not something that we can see. It is not visible to the naked eye. But at the same time, it's not an imaginative topic. It does exist. And rather than seeing it, we experience it. It is experienced through what people like to call aura or vibrations. Now, even if those words are new, something you can't relate to, a common word used nowadays is vibes, right? I don't like the vibes of that person, or I don't like the vibes of that place. These sentences are very common nowadays. The vibes and vibrations that people emit are direct correspondent of what their mind is, or what is inside their mind. Is it clean and beautiful? Or is it messy and dirty? For example, children always draw people, right? Because of their clean hearts. Everyone becomes kind and soft around children, right? So which is better, cleanliness or dirtiness? Do we like walking into a clean house or a dirty house? Clean house, right? That is why we constantly keep our house clean. When there are guests over, we make sure it is as clean as possible, or even when there's times of holidays or festivities. A clean house feels peaceful, whereas a messy house just gives you a headache. Same is with our mind. The cleaner the mind is, the more peaceful I will feel, the more light I will feel, and the more happy I will feel. We clutter our minds too much, either it be waste or with negativity. We never take the time to clean it. So what happens? It piles up more and more. What? Like just think about it, right? Why is there so much anxiety, depression, or anger in today's generation? So many mental health issues on the rise. Because stain after stain in the mind, and people have completely stopped cleaning their minds and hearts. And we don't even know how to stop accumulating dirt, and when it's there, how to clean it. Now, when there's a lot of rubbish and garbage in our minds and hearts, we're not authentic. We're something different on the inside and something different on the outside. And we don't even realize it. We think our relationships are beautiful. We talk nice with everyone. We say something different to someone and we think something different. Just like how a book and a cover are. No matter how beautiful the cover may be, the main context is inside, right? We have a big misunderstanding. Since we think that the book is closed, no one can look inside. But as we talked about, even if it's not possible, or even if it's not visible, we can still experience it. A lot of times we think that we're so kind to people, we're so nice to them, but why do they not accept me? Why do they not love me? It's because of what I'm radiating, the vibrations I'm giving off. It's because of what is in my mind. Just like how we completely stuff a cupboard, right? In our house, we all have that cupboard that we just fill up with random stuff, right? But then when somebody accidentally opens it, everything inside that cupboard comes falling. It is the same as when we come across situations and any other people, any negativity that comes, we just stuff it in our mind. We might act very kindly and as if we're not affected by anything. But on the inside, there's probably a lot of dialogues going on. Now, I make sure that the cupboard is closed. But when someone accidentally opens it, someone accidentally says something that triggers me, all the stuff I'd kept inside the cupboard, all the things that I kept inside the mind come falling out. All the things I'd kept from the past. The things even I didn't know were stuffed inside my mind. We just let it out. We then say sorry. We didn't mean it. I just said it out of anger. But these things would have never come out if I didn't fill my mind up with them in the first place. Right? When we start cleaning our mind, we become truly authentic. We become completely transparent. We mean everything we say. A sign of this is innocence and honesty. Something, as we talked about, we see a lot in children. Do you think children talk to a person nicely and inside there's a bunch of thoughts of negativity? No, right? They're absolutely clean. They say exactly what they think. Why do we remember our childhood and say that those were the good old days? We remember our childhood being a lot more fun, a lot less stressful. Because as we get older, we start accumulating more dirt and stains. We start to lose our authenticity. We start to lose ourselves. It's almost like as we grow older, we start to put a mask on. And we put up an act when we're around others. We have to now go in the opposite direction and make our mind as clean as when we were kids. So let's talk about how can we go about cleaning the mind. Now, one of the ways is to stop viewing others in a judgmental view. So stop looking at the flaws of others, right? And see the speciality of others. A term I would like to call this as is the art of window cleaning, right? The state of mind affects my vision, right? The way I perceive things, the way I perceive the outside world. So if my mind is messy and dirty, we can imagine how our vision is, right? Our vision will be of judgment. And when the mind is of judgment and I look at the flaws of others, it will make the mind even dirtier. So we will constantly perceive others and other situations as bad, with flaws and the problems in my life. Now, this reminds me of a story of a misjudgment and a mishonesty. There was once a misjudgment and a mishonesty. One day, mishonesty decided to visit misjudgment. As soon as Honesty arrived, Misjudgment began to complain about her new neighbors, a family of foreigners. "She's a terrible housekeeper," said Mrs. Judgment. "You said you should see how dirty her children are. And as of her house, it is almost a disgrace to be living in the same neighborhood. Just look at the clothes she's hung on the line. See the black streaks along the sheets and towels?" Miss Honesty walked up to the window to look. "Actually, the clothes are quite clean. The streaks are on your window." Right? So, like Misjudgment, how often am I deceived by my own dirty windows into projecting my own misjudgments, fully convinced that I'm seeing the truth? The original seed of misjudgment colors everything I see. Only when I look closely at my eye windows do I see that the dirt is on me. As I began the process on cleaning the dirt off my windows from the outside, I noticed something interesting. There's also dirt on the inside. Right? The dirt outside is a product of external influences, atmospheres, opinions, and attitudes. The inside dirt is of the past experiences, perceptions, and assumptions, unconsciously coloring my vision. When I look into and focus on others' flaws, it is as if I'm taking their garbage from their house and putting it into my mind. Right? So how can we consciously change this way of to view others? How can we clean our mind from taking in this garbage from others? Something we just talked about, right? It is by looking at their specialities. When I look at other specialities, I start to inherit those myself. So how do I feel when I see the specialities of others? I feel good about myself. Now, how do I feel when I see my own specialities? Even better, right? But is it easy? Oftentimes, when we're asked to write our strengths and weaknesses, the list of weaknesses is easy, right? But when it comes to strengths, almost all of us find it difficult to write, even a few, right? Now, this is very important, really important to understand, because this means that I don't understand myself, right? And how can I understand myself? How can I really know myself? It's by sitting in silence. When I do this, I'll be able to clearly see my own specialities. Because until I see my own specialities, I cannot see the specialities of others. Now, it is often difficult or the hardest to see the specialities of those I am familiar with. My family, friends, and work colleagues. There's some exercises that help in improving the art of window cleaning. So exercise 1 is virtue inventory. So in my diary, I can keep one section where I write the names of those closest to me. During a working day or at home, when I notice a speciality or I learn something from someone, I make a note of it in my diary. It is like an inventory of their good qualities, and it can help me at a later date. Because when I become influenced by one of their negative qualities, I can then refer to my diary and rectify the balance. I'm reminded of the good in the other and not consumed by their mistake and temporary weakness. Exercise 2 is acting, not reacting. Now, if there is a certain person who has a certain personality trait that upsets or disturbs me, I make that person my teacher. Why? Because their company will make me change. They make me aware of my own negative reactions. They teach me to act and not to react. Right? And exercise 3 is editing my memory tape. Now, before going to bed, we can relay the day's activities on the video of our mind. If I'm carrying negative feelings towards someone, let me resolve them before going to bed by forgiving that person from my heart. I don't only erase the negative feelings, but edit in something positive. So I consciously remember a speciality of that person, which will remain recorded in my subconsciousness. I then go to sleep and wake up much lighter. Now, exercise 4 is seeing the intentions. Another method of learning and holding the specialities of others in my mind is to see the intention and not the action. Sometimes people do make mistakes, or maybe I disapprove of the way they do things. If I focus on the activity, then I will get upset. However, if I see a sincere motive, I can maintain the attitude of love or acceptance, which will enable me to resolve disagreements respectfully. Now, is this thinking a bit naive? Do I see only the good and remain blind to the negative? No. The art of seeing speciality means to see both the positive and the negative, but then let go of the negative. And why should I add the negativity? Let my response to others' weaknesses be with compassion rather than anger, dislike, or hatred. Right? When we put these exercises into practice, our vision will be that of love instead of being judgmental. This will free my mind from storing any weaknesses and dirt of others. Now, another way, and I would say one of the easiest ways to clean our mind, is to forgive and forget. A lot of the stains in our mind come from being hurt by others. Someone did something that made me angry. Someone said something that made me upset. Every time something like this happens, it becomes a stain in my mind. Procrastinating or taking too long to forgive may make the stains become too stubborn to replace. It takes longer and makes the effort harder. Without forgiveness, the ego becomes more powerful in our consciousness and kills our ability to love. We become far more judgmental and critical about people. But when we forgive, we surrender ego and let compassion flow. Now, this reminds me of another story of a teacher. Once a 4th grade teacher decided to play a game with the class. The teacher told each child in the class to bring along a plastic bag containing a few tomatoes. Each tomato will be given a name of a person that the child hates. So the number of potatoes that a child will put in his or her plastic bag will depend on the number of people he or she hates. So when the day came, every child brought some tomatoes with the name of the people he or she hated. Some had 2 tomatoes, some 3, while some up to 5 tomatoes. The teacher then told the children to carry with them the tomatoes in the plastic bag wherever they go for 1 week. Days after days passed, and the children started to complain due to the unpleasant smell led by the rotten tomatoes. Besides, those having 5 tomatoes also had to carry heavier bags. After 1 week, the children were relieved because the game had finally ended. The teacher asked, "How did you feel carrying the tomatoes with you for 1 week?" The children let out their frustrations and started complaining of the trouble they had gone through, of having to carry the heavy and smelly tomatoes wherever they went. Then the teacher told them the hidden meaning behind the game. The teacher said, "This is exactly the situation. When you carry your hatred for somebody inside your heart, the stench of hatred will contaminate your heart, and you will carry it with you wherever you go. If you can't tolerate the smell of the rotten tomatoes for just 1 week, can you imagine what it's like to have that stench of hatred in your heart for your whole lifetime? Right? In this story, we see how difficult it became for the kids to carry the tomatoes as they became more and more rotten. Right? They could not wait to get rid of the tomatoes. Just as such, we carry these ill feelings and hatred for others. It puts a dirty stain on our mind, which just fills us up with hurt. Right? And the longer we carry it, the harder and harder it becomes to carry it. We just want to get rid of it, to get rid of the pain. But a lot of the times, we're unable to. Why? Now, the difficulty with forgiveness comes from several wrong perspectives, right? One is that the victim forgives the attacker. This means, by forgiving, I admit I was defeated. This first assumption comes from the idea of victory as the one smashing the other. And because we live in a society where war are not all desirable, that idea is conflicting with our reality. In day-to-day lives, there are no real battles. There are some conflicts and problems, things that help us to refine our character. And forgiveness strengthens that part of our personality that is able to make us move on no matter what happens. Right? Another perspective that we have is that only the weak ones have to forgive. The strong ones win. So forgiveness is even more attached to the concept of defeat. In fact, it is all opposite. Anyone who has seen anybody forgiving another person is able to discern who is the strongest. And really, it is always on the side of the forgiver. And another concept is that by forgiving, I will forget the problems and they won't be solved. Forgiveness is always or often linked to the idea and the sort of amnesia. If something really bad happened, forgiveness helps you to heal your emotions and mind. But you probably still need to see the aspects of justice that are usually required. In fact, forgiveness will let you have a clear mind and light consciousness to rebuild your life. A lot of times we forget that forgiving the other person, we're helping ourselves, right? We're cleaning ourselves. We often think that by forgiving, I do a favor on the others. But I really am doing a favor on myself. And forgiveness cannot be really given except to yourself, right? So one of the things that we really need to do is forgive ourselves. So when we think that we're forgiving others, we're not really forgiving them, but we're forgiving ourselves, right? We're forgiving ourselves of all the hatred that we carry, right? Even the word give is in forgive, right? So we're giving ourselves liberation from all those stains and all that dirt in our mind. The other person, even if we say we forgive you, right? And as long as they don't forgive themselves, they will still be heavy, right? So truly, the forgiveness you can only give to yourself. Now, another way I can clean the mind is to stop pointing the fingers at others, right? When I point outwards, when I blame others and other situations for whatever happens, for whatever hurt that I've gone through, I give them the key to my mind to come and put whatever garbage they want, whatever mess they want. They can put it in my mind whenever they want. Now, we give others and other situations the power through this, right? That they have the power to affect my feelings and my emotions. For example, the weather's bad, right? And I don't take care of myself. and I get sick. And I say, oh, what a terrible weather, right? So when this happens, it is hard to clean the stains in the mind because I've given others the power, and because of which I feel powerless. So how do we take the key to our mind back? By pointing at myself, right? And not others. When we point at ourselves, we then have the power over our own mind, right? Over whatever thoughts we want to create, whatever emotions we want to feel. It would not be dependent on anything outside. Once we realize that only we have the key to our mind, we can avoid the mind filling up with any garbage or mess. Right? A simple example of this is, right? For example, few students are getting yelled at by their teacher, right? And do you think all of them will react the same way? All of them will feel the same emotions, right? Someone might be like, oh, the teacher just does this regularly, whatever, right? Take it in the one ear and let it out the other, right? Another might get really upset. How did the teacher do this in front of everyone, right? Creating a lot of angry emotion. And another one could be like, the teacher has a right to do this, right? I did something wrong. I will ask for forgiveness. So all those 3 students had gone through the same situations, right? But some gave the key to the situation. Some gave the key to the teacher, right? From which they just created stains in their mind. And then whereas some remained calm and clean. So what does a clean mind and heart do? Feels peaceful. Okay. You feel happy. Okay. So one of the things it does is it gives us the ability to discern and decide. Now, it gives us helps to make it easier for us to make decisions. It gives me the ability to discern and decide. Nowadays, we rely on others for most of the decisions we make, right? We go to our family, our friends, and it's not usually even big decisions, right? A lot of times it's small decisions, like what should I wear today? Or what should I eat? A lot of simple questions, which we can easily find the answer to ourselves. So why is it that we don't make these decisions ourselves? Or is it that we're not able to? We're always afraid to make the wrong choice, no matter in big decisions or small decisions. Right? And why is this? If you have a cluttered or a messy office, will you be able to find the right files or the right equipment? Or if you have a messy kitchen, will you be able to find the right utensil? Maybe after a lot of searching, right? Now, this is why we also clean our offices and our kitchens, right? So that we can find stuff easier. Now, this is how our mind is too. If the mind is clean and organized, we can find the answer to our own questions. We can discern right from wrong. By doing so, I develop the extremely important power to discern or discriminate between truth and falsehood, right and wrong, that which is benevolent and that which is not. To cultivate this power of discernment, I need to find time to contemplate, meditate, and clean the mind and intellect of any waste thoughts. Just as when we have too many unwanted things in our homes, what do? Have a garage sale? Or we even throw some things out, right? Just as such, when I clean the mind, It frees me from waste and wasteful thoughts. So, just like how a jeweler can identify a real jewel from a fake, or a swan picks the pearls from the pebbles, the jewels from the stones. When we have a clean and clear mind, we can really decide in difficult situations on what is the right path and what is not. Right? Even if it's simple questions or even harder questions. Like I know a lot of students nowadays have the difficulty of choosing what career they want to pursue. Right? They spend their whole years in studying, deciding on what they want to do. And it takes them a long, long time to come up with an answer. So, just like this, when we develop the ability to discern and decide, we can come up with the solutions. We won't need anybody's help. Another thing a clean mind helps with is that it makes me strong. Not physically, mentally. A person that is strong mentally or spiritually can remain strong in any situations, right? No matter what type of situation comes. Why? Because that person will not create any thoughts of fear or any doubt. They'll constantly be carefree. Now, just as children, right, are not worried about what situation comes. They sleep with their palms open every night. Every night they sleep carefree. They're not worried about anything. Now, have you ever seen a child with lines on their forehead because of stress? Never, right? They're always smiling and cheerful. Just as such, a person with a clean mind will stay content and cheerful. And in any situation, in any type of situation, no matter how difficult they might be, they will see every problem not as a problem, they will see every situation not as a problem, but rather than an opportunity to grow. Also, because of having a clean mind, we'll have a lot less wasteful thoughts, and we can conserve a lot of energy. And what is the energy in our mind? What does it come out as? Cheerfulness, right? Lightness and enthusiasm. Now, for example, when we're working or when we're studying, our mind starts to get a lot heavier, right? Because there's a lot of thoughts going on and a lot of waste. So when we have a lot of waste thoughts, we feel drained and not enthusiastic to do anything. Just like how anything you use, you drain its energy by using it, right? And the less you use it, the more energy it will have. So if we have a lot less waste thoughts, we can save our energy and stay energetic, enthusiastic throughout the day. Now, so what are the steps in cleaning the mind? We talked about its benefits, right? We talked about how we can clean the mind. But what are the steps in cleaning the mind? Now, the first step is to recognize and identify it, right? We can't do anything unless we know there's a stain there, unless we know that there's a hurt and burden that we're carrying. Second is to understand it, to really understand why it's there or what caused it, to understand the situation, right? And the third is to have the determination to clear it, to clean it. So how can we identify and recognize the stains? Meditate, okay. Yeah. Have some alone time, right? Nowadays, alone time means to go on our phones, right? But alone time here, is to sit in silence. Now, this reminds me of a story, one I have told before too. right? But it really gets the point across. There was once a farmer who discovered that he had lost his watch in his barn. It was no ordinary watch, because it was a family heirloom and had great sentimental value for him. After searching high and low among the hay for a long while, he gave up and enlisted the help of a group of children that liked to play outside the barn. He promised them that the person who found it would be rewarded. Hearing this, the children hurried inside the barn, went through and around the entire stack of hay, but still could not find the watch. Just when the farmer was about to give up, looking for his watch, a little boy went up to him and asked to be given one more chance. The farmer looked at him and thought, why not? After all, this kid looks sincere. So the farmer sent the little boy back to the barn. After a while, the little boy came out with the watch in his hand. The farmer was both happy and surprised. So he asked the boy how he succeeded, where he and the rest had failed. The boy replied, I did nothing but sit on the ground and listen. In the silence, I heard the ticking of the watch, and I just looked for it in that direction. Right? And this is why a lot of people nowadays cannot find what is the cause of their burden, their hurt. Right? A lot of the times people have these mental disorders or problems, but they don't know the reason for it. Right? And the first thing we do, as we talked about, we start blaming others, other situations. But we need to understand that the real way to find out these problems is to sit in silence. Because as we talked about, these stains cannot be seen through a naked eye. They can only be experienced. And to experience these, I have to really sit in silence. So the first step is to sit in silence, identify, and recognize these stains. When I do this, I will very quickly find a lot of the very obvious stains, right? Then there will be some stains which are in the deep corners of the mind. Those that take a while to find. Because they've been there for a long time, and they've been there for so long, it almost feels as if they're part of our mind. Something that happened many, many years ago. When we find and visit these stains, the details, the story, our emotions, what I felt, all will start flowing. Right? If there's any situation in the past that felt anger, right? And when I go back and relive that moment, bring it back to my memory, all those emotions will come emerging. So the second step is to understand the situation. If it was a conflict with another person, right, which is usually the case, understand their perspective, their state of mind that day. For example, if someone got really mad at me for a small mistake, understand their point of view, their perspective, their state of mind. Sometimes the stain can be removed by just doing this, right? By just understanding their perspective. I recently heard this perspective from someone of how a person came to them for advice with a problem in their household. Now, it was a person who was loved by her family, her husband and her kids. But her mother-in-law was never pleased with her. If she did something that garnered the praise of everyone, her mother-in-law would always find mistakes in it. So the wife was given advice to understand the mother-in-law's perspective. And then when she really understood it, she realized that it was because the mother-in-law had only one son. No husband, just one son. So she was being overprotective, right? She did not want the son to love the wife more than her. right? So the whole criticism was born out of jealousy. She wanted to criticize the wife in front of the husband so that he would not love her as much as he did her. So when the wife realized this, she understood that the mother-in-law was in more pain than her, right? So she was easily able to move on. Just as such, when we clearly understand the situation, when we see the other person's perspective, and we realize that most of the times they're in more pain than us, the stain is removed just like that. And the third step is to have the determination to clean the stain. Now, there's some stains that can be cleaned quite easily, right? Something that was just at the doorstep and just needs a little sweeping. One wash and they're done. But there are some stains that are very deep, that require multiple washes, right? As we talked about, when we hold resentment for a long time, it becomes difficult to clean. These stains I will have to visit multiple times, regularly, work on them and clean them completely. Just like when there's some stains that are quite tough, so to get rid of them we use strong detergents, right? Or bleach. So just as such, when there's these tough stains in my mind that I can't seem to clean, I'll have to use strong methods, strong positive affirmations, right? I'll have to have a strong inner conversation and really convince myself that it's not really something worth holding on to. And I have to also make sure that I clean the mind regularly. Check and clean. Just like how, if we get a stain on our shirt, do we wait till we get a couple more to clean it? No, right? We'll do it right away. As soon as we get a stain, we'll clean it right away. Just as such, as soon as I notice a stain, I need to clean it right away. And when we clean the mind, when we start to clean the mind, we have to make sure that we don't dirty it again. Right? Or not as much, at least. Because then, that will just waste my time and energy to constantly clean the mind and then dirty it again. Right? This is done as we start shifting our programming of the mind on what to store and what not to. When we practice this and practice cleaning our mind every day, we will soon notice that the mind constantly starts to stay a lot cleaner itself. An indication of this is my happiness and lightness will start to increase. Or when situations come in front of me, the situations that I reacted to negatively before, now I react to a lot differently, a lot more positively. So now let's have a little meditation. Just a quick 2-minute meditation. Let's silence the mind. Go inside and search for a stain in the mind. Some burden I might be holding on to. Maybe some guilt. Or some anger. Now, if you can't find something, go further back. Something that might have happened months ago. Or even years ago. Find it. Understand the situation. What happened? Now, have an inner conversation. Talk to yourself. And clean it. Forgive if need be. let go if need be. Now, obviously, if they're tough stains, we'll need to spend more time, right? And if you weren't able to clean whatever you found, definitely go back and work on it to clean it fully, right? And we'll need to do this regularly, as we talked about. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And if you have any questions and want to learn, please visit our website, calgary.brahmakumaris.ca, or contact any other center within your reach. And I hope you have a nice day.